On a cold, mist-shrouded morning in October 1987, the town of Maple Creek, Oregon, awoke to the kind of news that would fracture its sense of safety for decades to come. Sarah Chen, a beloved nurse whose gentle hands had healed generations of neighbors, had vanished without a trace after her overnight shift at the local hospital. For a place where doors were rarely locked and neighbors looked out for one another, the disappearance was more than a mystery. It was a wound, raw and unyielding. Sarah was the spirit of Maple Creek, adopted by the community after losing her parents at 16. She was known for running the free clinic, teaching first aid at the high school, and spending her evenings with the town's elderly, listening to stories and offering comfort. To those who knew her, Sarah was more than a nurse. She was a beacon of hope, a source of compassion, and the heart of the town. On the night of her disappearance, Sarah clocked out at 3:15 a.m. Security cameras recorded her walking into the fog, heading for the Valley View Trail, a shortcut through blackberry brambles and ancient trees that led to her cottage on the edge of town. Her car remained in the hospital parking lot, keys untouched. Her coffee cup sat on the break room table, cold and half full, a silent testament to a routine interrupted. That morning, when she failed to arrive home, her fiancé, Mark Henderson, called the police. Within hours, the town mobilized, searching every inch of trail, creek, and thicket. What they found sent a chill through the collective conscience of Maple Creek. Sarah's nurse's cap was snagged on a blackberry bush, stained with a few drops of blood. Nearby, a single muddy boot print, size 12, work boot, was pressed deep into a patch of disturbed soil. The blood was enough to confirm violence, but not enough to tell the full story. Rumors ignited like wildfire. How could something so dark happen to someone so good? Detective Ben Riley, a man seasoned by years of routine cases and petty crimes, found himself thrust into a labyrinth of secrets. His first suspicion fell on Mark Henderson, Sarah's fiancé. Mark was quiet, loyal, and devastated. But, as is so often the case, those closest to the victim are scrutinized first. Mark's alibi appeared airtight. 3 coworkers at his garage vouched for him, insisting he was with them until 4 a.m. rebuilding a carburetor. His grief seemed real, his heartbreak unfeigned. But as the investigation unfolded, the facade of Maple Creek's tranquility began to crumble. Sarah, Riley learned, had recently withdrawn $5,000 from her bank account, telling Mark it was for wedding emergencies. The money was missing, and so were answers. Another potential suspect emerged. Dr. Evan Shaw, the charismatic chief of surgery at the hospital. He was respected, married, and, as it turned out, emotionally entangled with Sarah. While Shaw denied any physical affair, whispers in the hospital corridors painted a more complicated picture. Still, his elegant Italian shoes were at odds with the heavy boot print found at the scene. A third figure, a transient known only as Rabbit, had been seen near the trail in the weeks leading up to Sarah's disappearance. He had a history of assault and a reputation for unpredictable behavior. Police tracked him down, questioned him thoroughly, but his boots were the wrong size. Another dead end. The investigation began to focus on Dale Briggs, a logger who had clashed with Sarah earlier that night over medical treatment. Briggs had a temper, a history of bar fights, and, most crucially, wore size 12 work boots. His truck was discovered near the trailhead, and his abrasive demeanor made him an easy target for suspicion. The community, desperate for closure, latched onto Briggs as the villain. Riley, feeling the pressure, arrested him, convinced he had found the answer. But the prosecution's case was built on sand. At trial, the blood type found on the nurse's cap, AB negative, did not match Briggs, who was O positive. There was no solid evidence tying him to the scene, no motive strong enough to convince the jury. Briggs was acquitted, but the damage was done. The town was left with more questions than answers, and Sarah remained missing. The case went cold, gathering dust as years passed and hope faded. For nearly 3 decades, the mystery of Sarah Chen haunted Maple Creek. Her parents died without closure, her fiancé Mark relocated, and Detective Riley retired with a heavy heart. The trail went cold, and the memory of that foggy October night became a legend, whispered in hushed tones by those old enough to remember. Then, in 2015, hope flickered anew. Advances in forensic science allowed a cold case unit to re-examine the tiny blood sample on Sarah's nurse's cap. DNA analysis revealed something astonishing: a second profile, male and unknown. The evidence was run through CODIS, the National DNA Database. The results stunned investigators. The match was Mark Henderson, Sarah's fiancé, the man who had grieved for her, the man whose alibi had never been truly scrutinized. Further investigation unraveled a web of deception. Mark's alibi collapsed under the weight of new evidence. A security camera showed him at a gas station near the trail at 2:50 a.m., less than half an hour before Sarah disappeared. Confronted with the truth, Mark confessed. Sarah had been pregnant, but not with Mark's child. The father was Dr. Evan Shaw. Overwhelmed by betrayal and heartbreak, Mark intercepted Sarah on the trail that night, begging her to reconsider. When she refused, if Sarah Chen's story shook you, hit subscribe. We don't just tell true crime, we honor the lost. Every time, we drop untold stories like Sarah's, deep dives into cold cases, no sensationalism, just facts. Victim-first storytelling. You'll know their names, not just the killers. Real updates, like the 2024 DNA breakthrough in Maple Creek. Join 84,200 plus truth seekers who refuse to let victims be forgotten.